Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Edwards. I'm the founder of Sleeping Phoenix Publishing and co-creator of the Human Design Moon Journal.
Yay.
Oh, I'm a 2/4 emotional generator.
All right, I'll do the same. I'm Briana Maxson, also the other co-creator of the Human Design Moon Journal and a 4/6 emotional manifestor.
And we met in person. You're actually one of the few people in the human design community that I've met in real life.
Same. I think you're the only person.
We met summer of 2021 in Chattanooga when I was at home staying with my family for a couple months in the summer in Tennessee. And we were so close that we could not meet up.
Yeah. That was really cool, actually, to be able to because we met through an emotional authority group class.
Mm-hmm.
And then we must have just sidebarred a conversation. I don't really remember how that
I
started.
think we did.
Just I don't even remember. Did I reach out? Did you reach out? I don't know. But I do remember my visual of you in that group call. I knew you were in the Southeast because your background, you were outside. Yeah. And it's the color of a certain place or the geography of a certain place. It's I know now how to pick out where people are based on the geography behind them. Obviously not if they're in their house, but I was she's somewhere in the Southeast like me. We're not that far from each other.
Turns out it was an hour and a half away.
Yeah, even closer than I expected.
Tennessee.
So yeah, that's how we met.
That's how we met. And that day that we met, we were walking around Chattanooga and we were talking about women's health issues and all the plans that we have and the things that we would like to be available. We talked about having a provider list, a human design practitioner of sorts any kind of professional who is human design informed to then be able to find someone who I was going to say gynecologist, but what are the chances of finding any kind of therapist or
one day it'll happen.
Teacher or whatever kind of professional that you need to set up an appointment with, or be able to find someone who's human design informed so that whatever modality that person is working through, they're incorporating your human design into it. We talked about creating a list for that.
Yeah, I think that was part of our first conversations, but I think it was the steaming too.
Yeah, we really talked
about
there
was some steaming. Connection of you had taken a facilitator training and I had done the same one.
Yeah, I got certified in 2019, I think, through Steamy Chick.
Yeah.
And that's you were in the process of, I think, at that time. Yeah,
I was going through, either had finished or was going through the facilitator and then moving on to the practitioner training. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think there was a few overlaps of we've done these things or we've studied these things or we're interested in these things. So that was really the beginning of the Moon Journal conversations.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it was, and then if you want to, you can explain a bit about steaming if you'd like, because I'm sure most people don't even know what that is. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go too far into it as a tangent, but basically, it has a few different names. So if you have heard of it, you might have heard of it as yoni steaming or pelvic steaming, vaginal steaming. It has all these names related to the pelvic area or the perineum area. Mm-hmm. And so you're basically sitting over steam, like a pot with specific herbs to your specific needs or, whatever's showing up in your menstrual cycle needs or even I was trying to think because a lot of it is external too, skin skin related things.
Mm-hmm. Or
But yeah,
fibroids, or
yeah.
people use a lot for fibroids.
Yeah.
Menopause.
And hemorrhoids too. So it's like
Hemorrhoids.
not just vaginal, but that region of your body where you're going to be sitting over something to steam, and as a herbal medicinal practice. But yeah, so I had started using that practice and tracking using like fertility awareness methods and learning about human design at the same time. So that layered in for me all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's just such an obvious way to incorporate human design, but it's not one that we talk about enough. Which is why you initiated the group where the idea for the journal kind of was born.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I don't even remember the date. I could like find it at some point, but oh my gosh. Do you hear my dog? Sorry. Hold on. Let me close the door.
The fertility tracking works, by the way, because if you could see her baby bump as she walked away.
Oh yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. Wait, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. So yeah, fertility awareness method. It works.
Okay. My husband is removing my dog, but she was barking at him. Where were we? So the like online little group meetup started, was it like
in January, I think.
Was it? Okay, so it's only been a year? Oh gosh, wow.
Not even a year.
But not even a year, but like that's really bizarre. I feel like it started maybe earlier than that, like last year, but the end of last year. But yeah, just the culmination of like already kind of layering these pieces into my life of tracking certain data points in a way of like tracking my menstrual cycle, tracking moon phases, paying attention to transits and how that influences or doesn't. But just like all those layers. And so of course, like that's my mode of like what I'm looking for out in the world of like who else is doing this, or who else is interested in these conversations. So I think it was like within a matter of a day or a 2-day time frame that I had noticed, well, like I already knew you obviously, and we had had many conversations, but I had noticed 3 different projector women like mention this HD/menstrual cycle connection of just like, let's talk about this, or, you know, however they had brought it up. I can't remember the details, but I was like, I don't know these women. Some so-and-so had reposted. I don't know. I didn't know any of them. I didn't follow any of them, but they were all being like fed into my feed somehow by like somebody reposting or whatnot. So I just kind of reached out to all of them and you, and I was like, do you ladies want to talk about these things? Like, just have conversations, because I do. So, and then, yeah, and everybody was like, yeah, let's try it. Let's talk about it. So what we tried to meet about once a month.
I think we managed about 3 meetings, didn't we?
At least 3 or 4. Yeah, I think so. And then,
yeah, in that first group call, I think it was Magdalena who said, wouldn't it be interesting if the moon transits correlated in some way with our menstrual cycle, if we could see that? And I was like, well, let's make a journal and find out. And then we did.
Yeah, because it was just all those pieces coming together of like, I had been wanting some sort of, I don't think it was even a journal in my mind at first, but like almost like a calendar planner that I was wanting, of like, I want something with fertility charts, because that's what I'm tracking. But I had like added to these charts that I already had, like I had added my emotional waves in there. Like I had added things that just weren't included in them, that were like HD related. And so I was like, oh, okay, like that's something that I want. And then you guys were bringing the moon transits into the conversation, which I wasn't really paying attention to the moon transits, more just like the sun and earth. But yeah, so it was like all these pieces of like you and I and these other women saying like, we want to see what does this look like to have it all combined.
Yep. And so when we actually decided to do it and started designing the journal, like we knew from the beginning that we wanted the fertility awareness charts in there, even though we know that most women have no idea what that is or how to use it. And we talked about it kind of like just have it there as an intriguing thing that maybe will prompt people to look into it more and figure out what it is and perhaps start to do it, because knowing how our bodies work is crucial, really. And people kind of have the idea that it's something for like you use it whether like if you want to get pregnant or if you don't want to get pregnant, and that's the only, like either because you want to get pregnant or you don't.
Yeah.
It's just for pregnancy purposes or preventing pregnancy. But really, as a female with a menstrual cycle, a healthy menstrual cycle, including healthy eggs and healthy ovulation, knowing, the quality of your menstrual blood, if how many days you're bleeding, what the blood looks like, if you're having any pain when you're bleeding, all of those things are indicators of your overall health.
Yeah.
And so we need to know what's going on with our bodies just to be healthy, just to be in our optimal state. It has, in that sense, it has nothing to do with wanting to get pregnant or not. It just has to do with being healthy in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it was like originally learning about it for reasons of not getting pregnant and then using it to get pregnant. But it was also in that transition of what does my menstrual cycle even look like? Like I have ideas, like obviously I see it and I experience it, but I don't know it very well. Like I don't know that part of me very well. And so then as I got to know that part and like have like now I have 3 years plus worth of data of like, oh, during different seasons of the year, I have different length cycles, and that seems to be a pattern. Or have different emotional experiences at different times of my menstrual cycle, and there's a pattern. So it's like for me with being emotional authority, it was really helpful to pay attention of like, is this a wave or is this like a hormonal menstrual thing? Are they connected?
Yeah.
Are they not connected? Like, how does that work? Yeah. And like kind of just all these layers that I got to know about myself in such a way that was like almost predictable and, kind of as it should be of like, there's predictability to our menstrual cycles. If we're paying attention.
If we're paying attention, yeah. And it seems kind of, when you do a moon journal, it's kind of obvious that it can be connected to the menstrual cycle because it's the same. Our moon cycle, I mean, even in Spanish, a lot of people just refer to it as your luna, like I'm on my luna, like it's my moon cycle.
Your moon month. Yeah.
Yeah, we cycle with the moon. And a lot of women know what phase of the moon they tend to bleed in, and what maybe a lot of women even know what phase of the moon they tend to be fertile during. So it just seemed kind of obvious that if we're going to do something with the moon, that it's in some way going to be related to menstrual cycles. Yeah. But like you were saying, there's so many different layers. And when you bring human design into it, there's so many other kind of cycles that you can track alongside that. Yeah. Besides just the menstrual cycle, there's so many other different ways. And when we designed the daily pages, because we did decide to do it since it's about being able to see what gates the moon is in on a particular day. Like it's not a journal where you write the date at the top and you can skip weeks and weeks and it doesn't matter. You're just like, the next time you write, it's on the next page. Like there's a page for every single day of the year, because the point is it's following the transit. So you know that particular day, what was happening, and then you can try and see any correlations with what was going on. What was in the transits? Where was the moon? Where was the sun? Where was the earth? Was I going through an emotional wave about something at the time? If I'm a reflector, am I making a decision? How many days has it been? If I'm a manifester, am I in a creative cycle or am I in my rest cycle? It can keep track of those things as well. So we tried to design it in a way that we're not just tracking our menstrual cycles with the moon. We can track so many other things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so with the daily pages, there's spaces for tracking different cycles, and those can be whatever cycles you want them to be, whether it's, like your like purely human design related emotional or moon cycle reflectors, or I can't remember all the ones we listed. We had like figured out like how many would be a good amount. Like we have 3 spots for 3 different cycles. And we're like, okay, that seems like a good amount. If you had 3 different, if it was a menstrual cycle plus an emotional cycle plus, maybe a creative cycle or something like that. But in some ways, it's like there's freedom to make up what cycle you want it to be. It's like, it's your choice. It's enough information to prompt, but then there's so much freedom with it too, of like, use this how you want to use it. The fertility charts are in the back. If you don't want to have anything to do with those, don't. There are, like, you can use the fertility charts just to like track moon phases. You could use them. Like, honestly, I just started like tracking so many health markers. I was like, did I go poop today? Like, like there's so many health markers that we can track that are just so basic and simple and can affect us like on such big, like, it's like, are we eating enough? Are we sleeping enough? Did I dream? Did I not dream? I don't know. Like, whatever marker you want to track, you can use the fertility chart to do that too. You don't have to use it as a fertility chart.
Yeah. And that's pretty amazing to have that all in one place. Be tracking all those things and be able to go and reference the day in the journal and see what you wrote during that day, like what was going at that time, and draw your own conclusions about, how that transit affected you, or maybe it was something else that you noted that wasn't necessarily transit related, but really,
I mean,
cool
that was like
put through. And
it's a huge motivator for me to like create this journal, is to have all of these pieces in one place where I'm like, I don't have to go on this app and then go separately on this app or this website, or also I don't want to use my phone as much too. So I'm like, I love using physical journals and planners and writing things in and checking things off and like making my little boxes of my to-dos and whatnot, or checking the boxes on my charts and whatnot. So like, I wanted all of that together. Like, I want all these pieces that I'm already working on and looking at and tracking to be in one place, like, instead of my charts are just like loose paper and I don't know what to do with them. They're just a stack of loose paper and it's so annoying to me. I'm like, no, I just want these compiled in a book.
Yeah, and it's something that you can reference. I'm one of those people that if I write something down, I'll be like, maybe you keep it, because you'll never know when you want to reference that and see, or your grandkids one day are going to discover these diaries and they're going to I never go back, and if I record something for myself or write something, I never go back and reference it. It was just an act of getting it down. But there are people who do. there are people who do that and who like to do that and need to do that. And it's really cool to think, over a couple of years, you can have this whole catalog and you'll be able to see patterns, not over just a year, but over several years. You can see consistently during, like you said, during the winter, these things tend to happen, or during the summer, these things tend to happen. And now that we know that the sun is always passing through the same gates in the same order, we can also layer that level of transits on top of those things that tend to happen in the summer, tend to happen in the fall, tend to happen in the winter.
Totally.
Because those are the energies that are affecting us at the time.
Yeah.
Consistently every year.
Like what I love that you brought into it is the focus on the Godheads and the focus on like those archetypes being brought into it as a calendar. And, I wasn't really paying attention to any of that stuff, but the more that we've created the journal and talked about it, I'm like, actually, I love this kind of stuff. Like I love the symbols and the archetypes and getting to know those. And I love those stories. Like I love that there's going to be like a story element and an artwork element in the book.
Yeah, it just seems like a way, because we don't really talk about the Godheads very much in the context of human design, because all of the gods that Ra chose, they've existed for thousands of years. It's not like they're exclusive to human design.
Yeah.
And he usually talks about them in the context of amino acids. So that's even a different level. Like maybe one year we'll have someone to write stories or to do the art, like really tying it into the amino acids. But
yeah,
I'm just like, whoa, that's too deep even for me right now. But those archetypes have existed for millennia, as long as humans have been able to observe nature and each other, really. And so it just made sense to divide the journal up by quarter and then to put something in about each godhead, because that's a huge part of the energy that's happening over those weeks. And to be able to kind of track that and have a way to visualize it and through the art and kind of connect with it emotionally through the story and see how those themes are playing out during the weeks that the Godhead's gates are going through the transits.
Yeah. On that larger scale, that archetypal scale, like we don't have directly any astrology in the book, but it's like it is there. If you know it, it's there. It's not as obvious as like we've put the transits in there very specifically and obviously, but
well, there's enough out there about astrology that
exactly
there's resources for that.
And if you know it, it's like the archetypes, the beyond that, but it's like there's just so many layers, and that's what I love. And yet like it's still pretty simple in its like presentation. It's pretty simple and it's pretty open to like user experience, I guess, of like use it how you want, write in it, draw in it, track in it. I'm excited to use it. Like I'm super excited to have one in my hand, and like it'll come out. It'll be like perfect timing for me in a way of like transitioning into motherhood. And
that's true.
I don't know when I'll get my cycle back, and that'll be like this whole new journey for me of having something that was really predictable, even though my cycle was on paper unpredictable, but it was predictable to me because I had learned it. And then now not having any reference because I'm pregnant, it's like it was very like destabilizing at first of just like I'm not used to this. Like
that's interesting. Yeah,
it's been a whole new experience and journey being pregnant of not having predictable markers to track and not having almost not having anything to track other than a day or a week. I'm just like, okay, I'm tracking my emotions. I'm tracking, what week of my pregnancy I'm in. But that transition after having the baby, like I'm going to be glad to have something that, like when my cycle does come back, it's going to be different. It'll be a whole new thing. So I'm excited to use it.
That's great. I hadn't thought about it in that way, about pregnancy being like 9.5, 10 months of just constant change. There's this, it's a cycle that's much, much longer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you were to take the seasons of the year, that's what it feels like. It's like that it fits into that year season versus the moon season of like the monthly moon phase and the monthly like menstrual cycle phases. It's just on a larger scale of like, okay, this literally is, that we say trimester, but the postpartum too, like the fourth trimester of like, it's 4 seasons. And I've kind of actually been almost in line with those 4 seasons of like getting pregnant in the end of winter. And so for me, it's been more literal of following winter, spring, summer, fall, and into winter again. But it's on such a different scale and it's brand new. So it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking for like to track other than emotions at this point. Yeah. But yeah, so that has been its own experience.
Cycles, man. Everything is just cycles within cycles.
Yeah, longer cycles, shorter cycles. All
Repeating
of them.
cycles.
Yeah.
And that's, I really love that we decided to do the journal that way. So open and flexible, because if human design is all about differentiation, then how can we create something that is so structured?
Yeah.
I do wonder how many people, because we're so trained to be told what to do, how creative, it'll be interesting to see how creative people actually get with that openness, like with that ability to decide.
A blank page, a blank canvas. Yeah, where it's like the top of our daily pages have more structure and promptings, but still a bit open-ended. And then the bottom 3/4 of those daily pages are totally blank, no lines, nothing. Like it is a blank canvas. So for some people that might be a bit of a struggle. And for some people it might be like exactly what you want because you're going to use it a little different every day or so.
And some people like me, honestly, I don't really journal a lot. I just would look at it and maybe write down a few prompts for I don't remember which order we have it in. If it's body, mind, emotions. Mind, body, emotions.
I kind of forget too. Like I should know.
Those are the 3 prompts up there. Like to check in with your mind, check in with your body, check in with your emotions. And the transits are up there, and then the cycle space. I mean, some people may just like to know that they have a place to reference that and not necessarily feel the need to do anything else with those pages. Just, have something to flip through just for reference.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like I know that I'm going to use it different every day because that's just how I like with the blank space of like a lot of what I will use like planners and journals for is to write down things that I need to do, like a checklist. So I know it's like that's something that I do on a regular basis, regardless of where it goes. But that'll get used in that way. And then, like doodling, like I will doodle. I will draw. Like that'll be random, but that'll happen. Or just writing notes. Yeah, I think having having this like physical object where there is space for all these different potentials is, that's like what I'm most excited about, because I have so many different things in different places that it's like some things are on my, the Google folder, or some things are in my notes on my iPad, and some things are in the notes on my phone, and they're not all linked. And I'm sure that'll still all happen and exist, but to have something that I can like really use in one place just feels so nice to like, I can do all those things in one place.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear what you envision happening with the journal over time.
Gosh, I mean, I hope that like we can get good feedback, in the sense of like just getting constructive feedback of how people will use it or like it or don't like it, or what we could change, what we can make better. I think for me, like just personally, like for me, it's going to be what I'm already doing, but just all in one place. And having access to that in a bound book is like, oh, finally, like, all these things together, and it's like compiled, and that just sounds so nice. And like, I am somebody that will go back and reference certain things every once in a while, so to have that in kind of this like beautifully compiled book with that is, like aesthetically really nice, like our cover I'm excited for. For me, it'll be both just something I use every day and something that I would probably go back to and look at data points if I wanted to. That's how I would use it. And I think educationally, I hope that people will become more aware of, I guess, all the pieces, really. Because I think that is bottom line what it comes down to, is something to help us be aware. And however each individual takes that is up to them, but there's no algorithms. Like, it's just you, like, it's not going to tell you when it thinks that you're going to ovulate or thinks that you're going to start bleeding again. It's like, no, you have to be aware of that, and you have to know that and write it down if you want to know it, or if you want to pay attention to it. So I think maybe that's the long term, is that like, or the hope of the long term is that it would help people become responsibly aware of their bodies and their cycles, that it would be like a helpful tool for, where it's like, doesn't have to all be online. It doesn't have to be all algorithms and data mining. Like, it's just you in your own little book, like paying attention to you and getting to know yourself in that way.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see that once people start using it, if they do find patterns, if they do find correlations, like what new revelations people have about themselves or human design in general, or anything, what are people going to discover as they start tracking these things. I'm excited to see how creative people get with their use of it. I'm excited about this because we're kind of using this journal as a way to change our concept of time, to follow the rave year rather than the Gregorian calendar. And so that's also going to be interesting too, to to slide into that new concept of time, the rave new year, the beginning of a new quarter. Will eventually we be able to tell, like, ooh, these are Kali vibes, ooh, these are Parvati vibes, these are Prometheus vibes, because now I'm familiar with seeing it and relating it to the things that happen during this period of the year. And that I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, like, I'm excited for my journey with that, of like, I can like pay attention more to the transits and know that like these transits come around the same time every year, like, and the high archetypal elements come around in it, and to be aware of that, to kind of have that in the back of your mind of like, that's what's happening around you and the influence of that. Yeah, to kind of like be more in tune with seasonal changes and time in relationship to cycles and seasons versus linear time. I mean, it's all in everything, but not just linear time. Like, yeah.
Being able to flow between different concepts of time, different realities, time-space continuum.
Yeah, I like that.
All these rogue crystal bundles that are controlling us and conditioning us.
The layers of influence. Yeah, because that's something that's been really helpful for me, to have something to go back to and look at what transit was happening, or like how was that affecting my chart at this time. Like even in my journey to like the 2-year journey before actually getting pregnant, like there's some really cool layers. I won't go into all of it now, but it's like I can go back and look at what was in the transits, at what was happening in my menstrual cycle, at the season. Like I can just look at all these layers in retrospect, and that like adds so much depth to the whole story for me. Like that's so cool that all that was happening at that time. Like I couldn't have planned it like that. I wouldn't have known to plan it. You know, like I would have liked to get pregnant 2 years ago, but it didn't happen. And then when it did happen, I could see like all these layers, and I was like, well, actually, that's really cool.
Wow. That feels like a nice place to wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to say about the moon journal before we...
Gosh, I know. I'm trying to think. We've got, I mean, just to go over the basics of it, it's like we're going to have the body graph in there, and we're going to have some keynote pages to reference, like quick reference, and the Godhead art pages, so 16 art pages and 16 story pages, a story for each Godhead, which I'm excited to read them all when they're done. And then you've got the overall year spread, which is like the moon phases with dates, and then particularly one moon transit per that day based on the transit that is
12 o'clock noon UTC time.
Happening at that particular time. And then the monthly spreads for each month has the Earth, Sun, and Moon transits in there. And then the daily page has Earth, Sun, and Moon, and the times of the moon, because there's usually 2 to 3 per day. What else? There's the fertility charts in the back. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, those are the main features in the journal.
Yeah. So there's some repetition, but it's like it's all in different formats. So you just get to see it, you know, the month overview versus the day. So it's a lot of like good referencing.
Yeah. We're really proud of it, and we're really excited that we're actually doing it.
Yeah.
And we hope people love it, and that we get to keep evolving it over time to be even better.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we hope that you have ordered a moon journal for yourself.
Yay, do it. It's going to be so good. It's going to look so good, I think.
It is. All right. Thanks.
Okay.